Let's do some work on the flower centers. I'm going to alter them just a little bit by putting a little light green, the hooker's green, very dilute, in the flower centers and let those dry for just a few minutes. Take note of the orientation of the direction in which the darker area is. In the flower center, you can look at the reference photo for that. That dulls down the yellow quite a bit. We'll have to let that dry for just a minute. Okay, and then we're going to now work with some darker purple. I had my original mix of opera pink and cobalt blue, and I've put just a little bit of alizarin crimson in there to make it nice and dark. I'm just going to go around and do some accents and shadowing. I have two particular things I need to correct. You can see I have to make sure that this shows that this flower is underneath this flower here. So I've got to darken the areas around here. Hope it works. And then there's a petal here that is creating a shadow right here, so I need to darken that area a little bit. And then there are some other minor details. So I'm going to start on this upper left corner. I'm just going to, this is actually sort of a strange appendage of a petal that's coming out right here, so I'm going to just add a few little accents to it. And this flower bud on the side, just make a few accents on that. Sure, I like that. Just dull it down a little bit. Now, let's work on that shadow. See if this works. It will take away some of that pretty blue color. And if it wasn't dark enough after it dries, you can add another layer on there. There's also an area right here. And we'll work around, do a few accents on the flowers. If you don't like it, you can just dab it up. I'm not sure I like that shade that well. It's got a little bit too much red in it. Let's just lighten that up a little bit. A little more blue in there. Okay, I think the middle of the flowers are dry enough, so I'll add a little bit of sepia. Pretty strong, not too much water. I want it pretty dark. Just going to accent a little bit. You have to be careful if you're making an adjustment on the shadow because you could start lifting up the paint, so you just have to basically let it go. See, if I lift that up, it's going to lift up the purple as well, so you're just going to have to live with it. looks pretty well. I'm going to go ahead and use the white gouache, which is an opaque white watercolor paint. Mix it with water. And I'm going to dab all the margins of these stems with this opaque. It's not completely opaque. You can still see through it a little bit, so I don't put much water in it at all. You can actually maybe mix just the tiniest bit of green in there too to give it a tint of green. Let's see how that works. I'm just going to dot the edges. It's an interesting texture. These stems are bumpy if you look at the reference photo. It's just to indicate a little bit of the texture. Now when it dries, it's going to be a lot lighter. We'll check back in a minute with it and see how it looks. If it's too light, you can always go over it again. See how it's drying a little bit lighter than you put it on, so try to get it on there thick. And if you have to, you can go over it again. I'll continue to finish this up and then we will wrap up and discuss the next project. I see one more little detail that I would like to do on the little flower buds on the bloom stalk, and then we will be done. Going to get some of this dark purple. You see these little flowers here? I'm just going to put a few little accents on those. I'm tending to go on the lower side. Just put a little bit to make them really pop. And that is really it. We're done with this one. I do want to go back and look at something we did earlier, and that was talking about the backgrounds. And we had put some salt on here to show how the water runs with the pigment to the salt to try to dilute it, and you can see that pattern that was made from that, and then your back run. So that's something that if we want to have that looks really nice in some effects to put salt on it, and I like doing that, but that's what it will look like. And the next project that we're going to do is going to be with African daisies. And it's going to be a little bit of a different treatment on the background. You notice we didn't do any background on this one, and I think it just would take away from this beautiful purple color. So we're ready to practice even washes in the next lesson, number 4.